All right, so here's the big news of the day as it pertains to the NFL draft. Tua Tagovailoa goes in a press conference with Nick Saban, announces he will be foregoing his college eligibility. He's going to enter the 2020 NFL draft. The hip situation kind of clouded this whole deal. I mean, Buck, I think we always knew, he's going to come out and likely a top 5 pick. And then unfortunately has that injury. He's going to be recovering through that. Now, I had tweeted out before the decision was made, really he had 3 options. I think everybody was kind of making it a 2-option situation where, one, you go back to Alabama, you try and prove that you stay healthy, and maybe that'll up your stock, although there's tremendous risk you could get hurt, and that would not have been something I would have advised. Number 2, you forego your eligibility. You enter the draft, although you're not going to be able to do everything you want to do before the draft to show that you're healthy. A little bit of a risk a team would be taking on there, but you could do your rehab with the team. Those are the 2 options everybody talked about. The third option, which I'd heard a lot of in the last week, some rumblings that maybe he just decides to go back to Alabama but doesn't play. Maybe he goes back and trains and rehabs and uses that entire year to get fully healthy without risking injury, and then entered the 2021 class fully healthy, fully cleared, fully ready to go. Everybody would just have to operate off your tape from the previous 2 seasons. That, to me, was an option that was presented over the last week. I had heard discussed that potentially that could be a way he went, but he did the simple way. He's going to enter into the NFL draft. Your thoughts, Buck?
So my thoughts. So here's the deal with me and Tua, and I'm probably going to go really heavy and go all in. I believe he's the most talented quarterback in the draft class. I believe he's the number 1 quarterback. I believe if we were doing this from beginning to end and we just graded the tape over the duration of his career, I think we would say that he is the number 1. I believe that people have kind of miscast him in terms of who he is and who he will be at the pros. So much of the conversation has been about Tua being like Russell Wilson. And what I see is Tua having a game that is more like Drew Brees than anything else. I think he's a quick rhythm passer. I think he can work the middle of the field throwing down the seams. He also can push it outside. He's a terrific leader and a great worker. And I can't see any scenario when it's all said and done that he's not a top 5 pick, because I believe there's a separation between the 2 guys that are going to be in the tier 1 category, meaning Joe Burrow and Tua, and the rest of the guys. And I think when people dig into the tape and they look at the separation, I just believe that you pull the trigger on Tua, and even if he has to redshirt due to his injuries, I think you feel better about the talent than risking it on somebody else who is probably, in my estimation, a lesser player.
Yeah, I think, before the injury, it was obvious. I think that was all the talk about, all right, who's going to finish, in the number 1 overall pick. It's all for Tua, right? I think we've been talking about that for more than just a few months here. So, the question then becomes, like, how do we start to evaluate his health, and how long does it take, and how quick can a team become comfortable with him? I think the team that we most closely associated Tua with from the get-go was the Dolphins. Well, they're in a position there at number 5 right now where, they might still be able to get him despite the fact they ended up winning a few more games than we thought they would. But the question then becomes, once we start to get a sense of where he is health-wise, and he said, look, the doctors are very optimistic, but we really don't know how quickly the recovery will progress until we get to that 3-month or 4-month mark. Well, that's going to put us at about the combine, right? So how quickly can a team get comfortable with that medical? For instance, could the Bengals become comfortable enough to still make Tua the number 1 overall pick? And are they a team that's willing to do that? Like, all right, so let's take the injury out of it. What kind of system, DJ? What kind of fit? What kind of team? What kind of head coach or offensive coordinator makes the most out of Tua? What kind of team gets it in that regard and can accentuate his skill set the best? Is there a team out there in that top 10 that fits the billing more than another?
Well, it's interesting. I can make a case skill set wise. Obviously one's left-handed, one's right-handed, but Burrow and Tua have very similar skill sets to me. When you look at how they can be used
on the surface, nobody thinks about that.
No, and I do. I think Tua has a little more arm strength I don't think either one of them have huge arms like we've
Right.
seen from some of these guys in the past. I think Tua has a little more arm strength. I think Tua has a little more twitch to him with just how he operates with his feet and with his arm, just a little bit more twitch there. I think Burrow is a little bit better as a runner. Tua can run, just chooses not to do it very much. Burrow has a little bit better feel, kind of moving around, doing those things. But so when we talk about scheme fit, Rhett, I mean, I think these guys fit similarly with similar teams. Now, to me, you just look at where you want to go, and the Miami Dolphins with Chan Gailey. Chan Gailey, has spent time in the collegiate game. Chan Gailey, if I remember correctly, was with Cordell Stewart in Pittsburgh when they were doing some creative things with him. So he's going to know how to use the athleticism of either one of these quarterbacks that he would have. Now, let's assume Burrow goes one to Cincinnati, as we've been doing. To me, Tua, I would put his floor there.
At
I
5,
would imagine
right?
that the Dolphins, I can't see them passing him at 5. And if for some reason, Justin Herbert were to vault back up, which is another interesting draft discussion with the way he kind of finished out the year. If somehow Herbert ended up leapfrogging him, then you're sitting there with the Los Angeles Chargers team getting ready to move into a new building that needs a star to promote for this franchise, and it would be a major coup to land Tua there with the 6th overall pick to kind of jumpstart that franchise as they go into a new era.
If the Chargers don't go there, if the Dolphins don't go 2, if the Chargers don't go 2, you get the Panthers at 7. Would they think about it?
Yeah.
Would they think about it? Would the Jaguars think about it at 9? Because you've got a couple of options there if you're talking about a redshirt year already, right?
Yeah, I think Carolina would be a great situation for him because you can bring back Cam on the last year of his deal. It doesn't cost you much. It's $19 million. You have Cam, and Cam can know, like, after this year he goes on, so it's his best interest to play well. You have Tua there, and I think it fits. In terms of the Jaguars, man, I just don't know. I just don't know how they view their quarterback room with Nick Foles and Gardner Minshew, whether they see.
Well, that should tell you right there. I don't know how they think about it, right?
Those other things. And so potentially it could be a good fit, but I think there are other places that would probably be a better fit for Tua at this time.
Sure.
Can I just say selfishly, I don't like to, I talk to some of these kids, people set me up to talk with them from schools to kind of give them the lay of the land of, what the landscape looks like, whether they shouldn't come out. And I always try and give both sides, right? This is why you should, this is why you shouldn't. Here's the information. Hopefully you can go make the best choice. This was the right choice for Tua, in my opinion. It was the right choice. He did not need to go back to Alabama and risk further injury. So I'm personally, I think he made the right decision, and I hope that all works out well for him here in the near future.